Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here, and today we are pirate captains sailing 3 ships through the Caribbean in search of rich merchants to plunder and friendly ports to trade your booty for riches. Extraordinary Adventures Pirates is for 2 to 5 players, ages 8 and up, takes an hour or less to play, and is published by Forbidden Games. Now you'll be using multi-use cards to move or to use actions, and you'll be plundering merchant ships to add new cards to your deck and to help purchase treasure tiles, which will be worth points in the end. Now you'll also be racing to the treasure galleon at the end of the board for points at the end as well. Now this is on Kickstarter right now, so I'm going to show you how the game works, and then I'll see you on the other side. Now this is a Kickstarter preview, so all the art and components you see here are prototype, and you're going to want to check the Kickstarter page, the link is in the description of this video, to see all the final art and components. Now in this game, each player is going to have a pirate ship. Of course, these are not pirate ships, but check the Kickstarter page, they will look like pirate ships. And you'll start in 3 different areas, and over the course of the game, you'll be deciding which one to move, and you'll be moving them down a track, sometimes going to plunder, sometimes going to get merchants, and trying to get different things, different cubes of goods. Those are crates that you'll be using to spend to get treasure. So over the course of the game, you're going to be going through these different tracks, getting points in different ways, and the game will be ending when somebody gets all the way to the end. So let's go over how the game works. Now one of the main ways to gain points in this game is to get treasure, and they range all the way from 3 points to 8 points, and you'll be getting crates of different types and using those crates to spend in order to get these treasures, which will be worth points at the end of the game. Now how the game works is you're going to be playing cards on your turn. Each player starts the game with their own deck of cards. There'll be 10 cards, and they'll be the color of your player. For example, this is the green player's cards. Everyone starts with 10 of these. It's the same starter deck for all the players, but over the course of the game, you're going to be adding cards to your deck and making yours different from everybody else's. But at the beginning of your turn, you're going to have 5 of these cards in your hand, and the rest of those cards are going to be a draw deck. So for example, these cards would be in your hand, and you'd be choosing which 3 to play, and here's the rest of the 10 cards that are not in our hands. This is going to be our draw deck here. Now, these starter cards are pretty basic. Most of the time, they're just going to allow you to move a certain amount. So you're going to pick one of your ships and move. But some of the cards are going to have an ability that you can choose to use instead. Either way, the cards that you select are going to go to your discard pile. So let's say we select some of these cards and we're going to play them on our turn. So let's say we selected this one. We'll place any cards that you play here are going to go into a discard pile. We're going to move 2. Now in this preview, the player pieces are pawns, but the final components will be ships. And you can catch a glimpse of what those ships will look like right here. So again, I could pick any one of my ships, but I would pick this one. I'm the green player. Let's say I move it 2. Now let's say the next card I play, because you're playing 3 on your turn, let's say I play this one. It would allow me to move 1. Now I could move any one of my ships 1, but in this case, this is going to go to my discard pile. I would move this one. And for my last card, let's say I play this one. This one has some choices. I can either move any one of my ships 3, or I can use this ability, which is discard 1 card from your hand out of play. And this is useful later in the game. Once you start getting more powerful cards, you can use this to get rid of the weaker ones so you can cycle through to the more powerful ones more frequently. But either way, this would go to your discard pile. I'm going to move 3. Now when you move, you can always move sort of forward or backwards. But we're going to move 3 here. Now I could go 1, 2, 3 and start trying to race towards other things, maybe towards the end. Because it is a little bit of a racing game. You'll get points for where you finish on each of these tracks. But also, I could go this way, 1, 2, 3. Now, when I get to here, I would actually go right on it. This is a merchant ship, and you're going to be able to plunder that and basically take the cargo, which are these cubes here, and you'll be able to put these in front of you. And so I would have placed those cubes right here. Now, what you're trying to do with these cubes, again, is you're going to try to end up trying to get some of these treasures here, and you'll be spending certain crates. Now, I don't have the green one here. I have a brown and a yellow, so I wouldn't be able to get this one. We'll tell you how you get these, but that's what these are going to be used for, is trying to get treasure. I'll show you how that works in a minute. Now, the cards I played go in my discard pile. We start with 5 cards. I played 3. I have 2 left over. These are in my hand. And then you would just draw back up so that you have 5. So I would go 1, 2, 3 in this case. Now, at any point in time, if you don't have enough cards here to draw, you would shuffle up this discard pile, and it would become your new draw pile. Now, in addition to getting these cubes here, you also get a merchant. So anytime you plunder those ships, you'll get one of these merchant cards. And they would always get added to your discard pile. And these are always movements of like 2 or 3, and the coin shows you that it's a merchant there. So as you start to, put this discard pile and shuffle it in once these cards are gone, these better movement cards are going to come up if you have some merchants. And after you've done that, it's simply the next player's turn, so let's talk about the other things that you can do in the game. Now, another thing that might happen is you might get to one of these ports, and the first time you get to a certain port, you get to draw some cards from that port. So there'll always be 3 cards up that you get to select from any given port. Now there's 3 different types of cards on the port. There's the basic ones, and then there's some advanced ones that have some special icons here. These ones you can actually not play with if you're playing with kids to make the game a little bit more simple. But these cards are going to be a lot more powerful than your starting cards. For instance, this one can move 2, or you can spend it to move 4 on the blue track. Because if you see on the board, we have a red track, a black track, and a blue track. Now these other cards are special ones, the skull and crossbow ones. This one you can either use it for the movement and put it in your discard pile, or you can use it for this one-time ability and then get rid of it. It goes not in your discard pile, but out of the game because these are usually very powerful abilities. Now these ones allow you to play a card to your table. Again, you can either play it for the movement and put it in your discard pile, or you can put it in front of you, and then most of these cards you'll have this ability for the rest of the game. Like, hey, you'll get +2 on any track where you begin your turn in last place. So you can start building an engine of a bunch of these cards, or use these for a one-time powerful use, but you can always use them for movement. You can also take one off the top if you don't want one of these. Now if you take one of these, it'll get refreshed with another card. And this one, ooh, look at this one. This one is worth 2 victory points, but it doesn't really do anything else for you. And when you get any one of those cards, they go right into your discard pile and it will cycle through later. Now I've showed you a little bit about the treasures, but this is what it actually looks like. There's a certain amount of treasures depending on the amount of players that are face up. For example, this is how many tiles you'd use in a 4-player game. I wanted to try to show you as many as I could on camera. Now, not all the treasures are used in each game, so this is quite randomized. And in this 4-player game, we have 13 tiles. But when you go to that port, in addition to getting one of those port cards, you also, if you want to, can spend some of the crates that you have gotten that I've showed you before to get treasures. For example, if you have a yellow and a brown cargo here, you can spend it back into the supply, and you can get this, and this will be worth 3 points at the end of the game. You can spend as many as you want when you're at the port in order to get these different treasures for points at the end of the game. And as we're looking at this map, I just want to reiterate that on your turn, you're going to be playing cards and moving down different tracks, and it's your choice to move down the same tracks or different tracks even on the same turn. Now, if you remember, it is a little bit of a race. There's 3 different tracks, and as soon as any one player gets to the end, which is the Trinidad space, the game will end and players will count up their points. Each player is going to get points for the treasures that they've gotten. Every 2 cubes of the crates are worth 1 point. Then each player is going to get points for each one of their ships on the different tracks depending on what place they are in that track. For example, in this black track, it goes yellow, green, and then black. And so in this case, the first 2 players are going to score. The first place is getting 12 points, and the second player is getting 5 points. You do that for the other 2 tracks as well, and whoever has the most points at the end is the winner. Now let's show you guys a little bit more of some of those advanced cards to get a feeling for what those are like. This ability, move the lead ship on one track back 10. Draw 2 cubes from the bag, take a cube from a player, place 2 cubes from the bag on empty merchant ship location. That's because most of the time when people take cubes off a ship, they do not come back, they're just gone. But this allows you to put that there to go and plunder a merchant ship that somebody else already did. And this one, draw 2 cards from the port deck. Those are these powerful cards. Now here's some of the ones that are the play to the table ones. Most of the time they're an ongoing ability, but some of them tell you to discard it. Like this one, you can spend 1 less cube to get one of those treasures, but you'd place this in the discard pile when used. Move 2 extra spaces on the red track. There's one of these, or some of these for the different tracks. This one is take one of the cubes that's traded in the port by any other player. So that's when they go and they give the cubes to go get those treasures. You basically get to take those cubes. And of course, this is a one-time thing. You place it in the discard pile when used. This one allows you a ship that when they loot a merchant, they can also move on the same turn. Because usually when you go to loot a merchant, you can't move anymore. And this allows you to sort of break that rule. And this one, take a bonus cube from the bag when looting a merchant ship. But it's very powerful, so you'd place this in the discard pile when used. Well, there you have Extraordinary Adventures Pirates, and as I've shown in the overview, this is a family weight game that will appeal to casual gamers and families, but should also land on the table for core gamers. Now, if you'd like to see all the final art and components and all the different pledge levels available, now you can click the link below me in the description of this video, and that will bring you right to the project page, and I'm sure the fine folks at Forbidden Games would love your support.